videos to be like, this girl is so annoying. Why has she gone up the stairs so many times?
So it's moving now.
Why has she gone to the
That's
bathroom 12 times in 1 hour?
Why is she chugging sparkling water?
Okay, it's good. It's good. Okay.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. This is Essence of Medicine. Today, we're with a neurosurgeon talking about medical myths. I'm Amanda Armagast.
I'm Melissa Haber.
And the man in black is back with with the butterfly.
Crazy guy.
The crazy guy's back.
So I'm going to be asking Alyssa, a board certified PA, and Dr. Abbasi, a neurosurgeon, some
Board certified.
board certified
Not
neurosurgeon,
cool enough.
some things that I've heard, and I'm going to let them decide if it's myth or true. I don't know, myth or fact. How do you myth or
The myth or true? Yeah, I would say that myth or true.
well, we're gonna
Is it,
true or false?
True
Yeah,
or false?
true or false.
Now, by the way, just statistically, I'm going to go by almost 100%. Everything you're going to say, I'm going to say it's a myth.
Yeah.
Let's see if I'm right or wrong.
What happens if you're wrong?
Oh, well, then I buy you an ice cream or something.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Or-
Now you're breaking
chocolate.
Alyssa's heart. She
Why?
can't eat ice cream.
Okay, now look at the face. Look at the face.
I'm
Okay,
really good at facial expressions.
a steak.
I can have
Steak
steak.
for you, the ice cream for you.
Thanks.
Steak for you
Yeah,
too.
please. Well, you can buy me a cow.
Oh,
Buy me the cow.
if I'm allowed to eat it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Next.
Okay. Anyway, so
Welcome to Medical Myths with a neurosurgeon.
okay, so this one is for both of you guys, I guess.
Okay.
If you go outside with wet hair and it's cold out, are you gonna catch a cold?
Are you going to catch a cold?
Yeah.
I guess
No, go ahead. You go first.
the way I think of it is without wearing a hat and stuff, but if it's cold outside, we always know that we lose a lot of heat through our feet, our hands, our head.
Mhm.
And so in my head, if you were to go outside with, wet hair, would it affect something? Yeah, I would. We know that. But I don't necessarily think it would make you sick unless you were maybe it's freezing cold outside and then you have wet hair and you go outside and then it would make you more cold. But I'm thinking that's a myth in my head. Like
Okay.
having a wet hair head and going outside would cause you to have a cold. I do it all the time.
Yeah. I've done it before and I didn't get sick.
No, I lost this 100% myth already because believe it or not, that's true. Let me explain to you how it works.
Okay.
Now, we are talking about this about catching a cold. We are talking about flu or common cold. We are talking
Mhm.
about a virus disease. How does a virus get to our body? The respiratory virus through the mucosa of our nose, mostly of our nose. But the mucosa of our nose is extremely prepared for that. Right?
Lots of filters that
Yeah.
are in our nose.
How is mucosa of that's how we catch cold,
Mhm.
through the mucosa of our nose, mostly. I mean, respiratory maybe as well, but how is it fighting it that we don't get, because right now I'm breathing millions, billions of viruses in and out. How am I not getting that? Because it creates this mucosa, that thick material
Mhm.
and then we have immune cells in our as well in our mucosa. The mucus itself is what it comes out and catches this stuff and it send them out. We swallow it. It goes to our acid in our stomach. They get denaturated the virus and so on. Now, and that is our first kind of line of defense against any kind of virus.
Yep.
So what is the wet hair?
Mucus and getting there.
Yeah.
Mucus and a good immune kind of defense in our mucosa. What happens when it's cold?
Our nose starts to run.
But no, generally, what happens? Your blood circulation,
It does.
but your blood circulation internalize. Because if you send the blood circulation to your skin or mucosa, that's the point,
Mhm.
then you're losing
More heat.
more heat.
Yep.
And heat is important because you die.
Mhm.
If you're under if your temperature falls below a certain point, your heart stops beating and so on. So you're preserving your heat by reducing the amount of the blood flow to all external surfaces, including your nose and so on. What that means that you produce less mucus, your immune cells are less there.
Mhm.
The surface of the mucosa becomes drier because there are not enough blood supply to give it water and moisture.
Sure.
And that sort of practically cracks our first defense. So you don't get cold every single time you go out there, but statistically, if in the cold environment, that's catching a cold comes for a reason. Now, the wet hair, it just comes from that. What is the most vascularized place in our body? Our head, our
Yeah,
skull.
I know that one.
Do you know that? Oh,
Probably
yes.
My head on my
Yeah,
head.
I remember. So, and that I think so. There is some truth in that. Going in a cold weather, especially with the wet, anything wet, but especially wet hair, can expose you more
Right.
to common cold and virus problems.
Which I think we should also point out that, like you said, you're not always going to catch a cold, but like we said, viruses are everywhere. We've got thousands of viruses in us right now, but it comes down to, the susceptibility and how much, the
Mhm.
quantity, and that we're just setting ourselves up.
In a-
So in short, because this is gonna be kind of a speed round, it lowers your defenses and makes you more likely to get a cold.
Correct.
Okay, so then my next question is, I've heard that if it's really hot out and you're going from a cold room to a hot outdoors back and forth, you're more likely to get cold, sick. Is that true?
Go ahead. You take the first shot.
I think you should take the first shot. I mean, again, I know our bodies do amazing things. And, when we go from a hot place to a cold place, our bodies instantly start to adapt to
Confused.
that.
Oh.
We go from, sweating to chills to, goosebumps. So I guess, I would like to say that our bodies do a good job of keeping that homeostasis no matter what rooms you walk into. But like we had just talked about, it can I would like to think it sets you up to be more susceptible to get sick or get this because your body's then working more. It's having not normal conditions. That's my understanding or how.
Imagine you have a house
Mhm.
and you have, you go on and off, you put the temperature at 80 and 50 back and
Mhm.
forth all day long. What are you losing there? Energy. You
Right.
go up and down, up and down, up and down. Our body is no different. When you go constantly to a different environment and your body has to adjust to that, it's using a lot of energy to do that.
Mhm.
Now imagine though your body or your house, you have only $100 to spend on energy. The energy you're spending to going up and down on that, you cannot wash your clothes
Yeah.
or spending on other things and so
Mhm.
on. So I don't believe there is really a study that would show that it is correlate with more cold and so on. But I can imagine any kind of procedure that uses a lot of our energy expenditure, reduces the amount of the energy that we spend on our immune system and our first defense line. So that's plausible, but I'm not aware of any study that really showed that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that for the most part.
This one's a little bit more, I don't know if you'd say controversial or what category you put it under, but I know Alyssa and I talked about it yesterday. The myth or fact is you should always finish your course of antibiotics, even if you're feeling better. So let's say you have a strep throat and you got antibiotics, your throat doesn't hurt anymore. Can you stop taking them or do you need to finish?
Why is it a myth?
Well, go ahead. Amanda had also found that it was the debunking behind this myth says that it's a common myth, but not always true. The idea behind this myth is that by taking the full course of antibiotics, you'll be sure to kill the bacteria and prevent the infection from coming back. However, recent research suggests that for some infections, it may be safe to stop taking the antibiotics as soon as you start feeling better.
For some infection.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, now the idea here is that, you have like 50 billion bacteria in you, and 1 billion of them are bad bacteria you're trying to kill. And it's always, there is really no assurance that you're killing all that 1 billion bad bacteria that are making you sick. You're statistically getting rid of maybe 50% in the first day, and then 50% second day. Is like a half-life kind of thing,
An exponential chart. Yep.
exponential. And then by, let's say, after you have been written that for 2 weeks, after 5 days you feel really good, you want to stop, and then you stop. Now let's say 99.99% of the bacteria that are bad to you, they're dead. What do you think that 0.01% that are still alive, are they?
They're probably the stronger ones. And
The
they're
stronger
gonna-
one.
Yeah.
So if you don't go through that process, they're already weakened, and it's all about the dosage. Nothing is yes and no in medicine or biology. You have selected now the strongest one, and you gave them a break.
Mhm.
And how many bacteria do you need to get that million back?
Not
One.
a lot.
You
One,
need one. And one, in what time frame, in average? I know it's different for different bacteria. The bacteria duplicates in 20 minutes. You want to calculate the time that one bacteria can become a billion bacteria?
you want me to grab a
I can
calculator?
ask,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
take it.
ask ChatGPT.
Yes,
my
to
God.
ask ChatGPT, right? We have
How, I'll break this to you.
take for one bacteria become a billion. Ah,
Okay, so it depends on the species of bacteria and the
Generation level.
environment.
which is 20 to 30 minutes.
Yep, 20 to 30 minutes for one bacteria to become 1 billion,
You have me convinced.
About what?
which is 9
How crazy that
generations.
is.
20 minutes for 9 generations of
No.
bacteria.
No, 300 minutes. It's 180 to 300 minutes, which is 3 hours, about 3 hours.
9
For 4 hours.
generations of bacteria are already made.
Yeah, so in about 3 to 4
Mhm.
hours, one bacteria become a billion bacteria again. So you're exactly where you started 5 days before.
So to answer that question, listen to your doctor and finish off your antibiotics regardless of how you're feeling.
We didn't even talk about the resistance part of it.
Yes,
but
and
we
that
could- that
and
could be
the
a whole
bad part
podcast.
is the bad part is that now this new billion bacteria are now from the descendant of the strongest of the initial bacteria. Now again, this was traditionally how we have been practicing medicine, but we have a lot more knowledge that this is very much nuanced. Like, for something we know you give 3 doses, it's enough.
Mhm.
But then we calculate that in our recommendation, okay? Everything we do is based on evidence. Like if this, now I know this is almost political and people that CDC did this and that and so on. But that is, we have the highest level of evidence-based medicine in the whole planet. It's called CDC. They do these studies and they recommend, do this or do that. If there are better evidence that you should do it 5 days, they tell you that you should do it for 5 days. But if they recommend, if current recommendation is do it for 14 days or a full week, and that is based on exactly this kind of studies that just, what are the chances that if you don't do that way, here you just calculated
Mhm.
in 300 minutes, you're back where you started.
Well, I'm glad I know that now.
Okay.
So another little bit controversial one.
Okay.
Do vaccines cause autism?
Well, I know we talked about this briefly in a different podcast. And from what I know, and I know Dr. Bossi knows a lot more about it, is that when this came about, there was one researcher who basically found enough correlation to come out with a study that says that autism can be caused by a vaccine. And that was enough for the world to kind of go crazy and start believing things without.
Sorry, when he did that, was it one specific vaccine that he was looking at, or
I
was
believe
it like?
was it the MMR vaccine? Yeah, I believe, which is the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, which
Mhm.
since that study has come out, to my knowledge, has been completely
Debunked.
debunked
I
through
mean,
and through.
every other study that was done well debunked any kind of causal relationship
Mhm.
between the vaccine or any part of its ingredient that would cause.
Autism.
This is not a
specifically, but-
controversial at all anymore, except in some really the weird people kitchens that some people get together and they believe in.
Yeah, well,
They believe in alien and so on and so forth. I think for most of it is not a medical controversy about this
Right.
at all.
no, not medical but this is more for layman. Because I do know that like this is a conversation that's had a lot at my house,
Mhm.
is that there are people out there who truly are very passionate believers in vaccines causing autism
Mhm.
to the point where they do not vaccinate their children, and that makes not my family that I live with, but my direct family really concerned because we have young kids in school.
Yeah,
So then they're concerned that their children are going to school with unvaccinated children who may get them sick with like polio or something like that. That's the concern.
that's a real concern.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to have this question debunked on our pod.
Yeah. Now let's put it this way. Many of the diseases that would kill people, we don't have them anymore because we start vaccinating people.
Mhm.
Once you have a kind of herd immunity, the bacteria or virus cannot jump from host to host and get lots of people sick. So those are now rare diseases to a point that we don't vaccinate
Mhm.
against polio anymore because the polio virus is just not around anymore.
Mhm.
Now imagine for things that we still vaccinate now and that we still know those viruses are around, and if you don't vaccinate your children, then you give them a pool of survival. You give those viruses and bad agents practically a ground, a petri dish for them to propagate.
Mhm.
And we know what happens if viruses and bacteria propagate. They mutate. When they mutate, they can go into different strain that even your vaccine doesn't work.
We've seen that with COVID even.
We see it with COVID has actually at the
Influenza.
design.
Yeah.
Most of influenza, that is what they are.
Mhm.
The reason they're still around is because they sort of somehow knew that we are going to have our science to fight them. They created this mutation into their genome. And
I have a
that is why,
question.
yeah.
Just curious, now that chickenpox have had a vaccine since about 1995, I believe. That's a virus that I don't hear much about mutation per se. Do you think that would be something that we would see kind of disappearing in the next
Yeah.
100 years? I mean, shingles involved, but
first of all, let's find out when the chickenpox vaccine was.
1995.
Yeah, are you sure about
Okay.
that? I thought it was longer than that, but let's find out.
It was right before me, but it was not out when my brother was
Yeah.
born, and he was in
For
94.
some
So,
reason, I
was
believe
thinking
that
it
it
was
has been longer than that.
oh,
but
okay.
1970s
Well, in
Japan.
America,
Yeah,
license in Japan. Yeah, 1995.
United States, but it is.
But
See,
it's been around in other
I-
countries,
yeah,
but then when your brother got it,
Okay, Alyssa's
Yeah.
wrong.
no, Alyssa,
No.
you're right in the
no,
USA.
both of us are right.
Oh, we're both right.
Yeah.
We're both
We're
right.
all-
Good.
United States,
good.
it seems that it says 1995, but that has been around much longer.
I believe that, yes.
Mhm. Okay, because I think I as a baby got that.
Really?
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
Because I didn't even get it because it was
Well-
kind of too new.
I
2
got
years
it.
later.
I got it, but you were, so this is even wrong because it says it was developed in Japan in the 70s and you were born in the 60s.
yeah, I got it when I was a toddler.
Sure.
in
This
the
is-
early 70s, I was a toddler.
Oh, you didn't get it like when you were tiny?
Yeah, I
baby?
got chicken pox when I was a year and a half. So,
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it is not as dangerous as the regular pox,
mhm, right.
but as well,
Like
but the
smallpox?
yeah, smallpox, yeah, that's called smallpox. the regular
Cowpox.
pox, Yeah,
Monkeypox.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about now?
We were just.
I was
talking
just
ab-
wondering if like that virus could potentially be like polio and just completely kind of disappear
Do you mean the
as
flu?
Always
What
possible.
virus?
The
No,
chickenpox.
chickenpox,
Chickenpox.
since
Yeah.
it doesn't really, we haven't seen the regeneration or the
Yeah.
strains.
So
What we have lately, since people aren't, I might be wrong, but I thought that since people aren't getting vaccinated, they have been seeing more cases of
yes,
that and
it is,
polio.
there's still enough, I would say, substrate, people who are unvaccinated for the virus to
Mhm,
go from person to person. Now, that is one of the things that is beautiful about the nature. The very, very, very deadly viruses, they eliminate themselves. They kill their host.
Mm.
And so chickenpox, by the nature, that is not as dangerous as smallpox.
Right.
It has more kind of the ability to stay around and so on and so forth. It is like like the rest of the biology. If a mutation is way too dangerous for you, it kills you, then
Mhm.
you won't pass it to anybody else. Same with the viruses. So
right.
but the fact that chickenpox or cold and so on, they are not super, don't have a very high rate of lethality.
Mhm.
They stick around, they tend to stick
Sure.
around much longer.
Okay. Well, thank you guys.
That's
Just
it?
to, yeah, you have patients ready.
Oh, I have patients
Yep.
ready.
Just to recap, wear your hat. Do not go outside in the cold with wet hair. Make sure your hair is dry before you go outside.
Vaccinate your children.
Vaccinate your children and finish your antibiotics.
There you go.
Join us later this afternoon, probably like 8. We're gonna get deep with Dr. Abbasi.
Ooh.
What? What are we doing?
The game.
Oh, the game. Okay.
Thanks guys for watching. I'm Amanda Armagost.
I'm Alyssa Haber.